have another participant from Pakistan, Dr. Asif Khan Khattar. So you have 3 minutes. Kindly be firm on time.
Yes, so thank you very much. First of all, it's really a pleasure to listen to all the other esteemed participants, and I'm really honored to be part of this panel talking on such an important topic. So first of all, I'll just try to highlight some of the important steps that the government has taken in order to address the air quality problems, and then I'll try to talk about the interrelationship between air quality and climate change by giving a specific example. Now, air quality has deteriorated in Pakistan, particularly in the urban cities, and it has caused a lot of health concerns and problems. So many patients have developed different respiratory, pulmonary, and cardiovascular diseases related to air pollution, and some of our panelists have already spoken about that. But the problem is that nowadays, because of the prevailing coronavirus, the situation is getting worse because those COVID patients who have underlying conditions are at high risk. So if it's a respiratory problem that is pre-existing due to air pollution, then those COVID patients are at a very high risk. And this is what I've been personally observing throughout the year. So what are the steps that the government has taken? Very briefly, first of all, this year we've introduced the EV policy, the electric vehicles policy, and that's a massive way forward into the future. Recently in a UN summit, the Prime Minister has announced that there will be no more coal-powered power plants in the future. So that's also a massive commitment because we are reducing the carbon emissions and also reducing the air pollution due to the various contaminants that are released from them. At the same time, we've had a number of different projects which improve air quality, such as the Billion Tree Tsunami Project in the province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and now the 10 Billion Tree Tsunami Project, which is being implemented throughout the country. So obviously we know that trees, they're not only carbon sinks, but also they reduce the air pollution and improve air quality. Apart from that, recently, Pakistan has also introduced Euro 5 petrol standards, and that is going to play a very important role in reducing the emissions from vehicles. So at the university, we are also doing a lot of research in order to understand the interrelationship between the atmospheric variables and climate change. And we have produced a lot of data in this regard. For example, we've also analyzed the total carbon content in the particulate matter. And we know that the total carbon plays a very important role in heating our atmosphere. So in terms of the climate change mitigation actions that we've been doing, there's a two-way relationship. Climate change can affect air quality, and air quality can have an impact on climate change on the other hand. So when we talk about the Paris Agreement 2015, for example, then all the parties have signed and committed to submit their nationally determined contributions. And according to those contributions, the countries are actually reducing their emissions. And if the emissions are reduced, then that will substantially improve air quality globally. So each country is playing their part. Now, air quality is affected by contaminants or pollutants. These are the agents that cause the air pollution, such as sulfur dioxide, the oxides of nitrogen, oxides of carbon. These are the gases. But on the other hand, there are also these particulate matter, such as PM2.5 and PM10. Now, that's one aspect where we are releasing the air pollutants. But if you want to focus on this theme, the important theme of the co-benefits of the air quality management for climate change, then we need to look at something which is not only an air pollutant, but is also potentially warming the atmosphere. And one such example is black carbon, which has a fancy name of soot, and Sonia has already talked about that. So what happens is that due to the incomplete combustion of fossil fuels, the black carbon is released. And now that is not only a pollutant, it's not hazardous to human health, but it also warms the atmosphere because it absorbs the sunlight, and therefore it heats up the atmosphere. Now, this is a different concept than the greenhouse effect because it's actually the gases in the atmosphere which absorb the heat. But this is black carbon, and therefore it warms the atmosphere separate from the greenhouse effect. So that's why it's important to understand that there's a two-way relationship existing. Climate change can affect air quality, but on the other hand, air quality can also have impacts on climate. And in terms of co-benefit, if we are improving the air quality, then we can have a positive impact on the environment. For example, the black carbon, it can travel long distances and it can settle on the snow and ice in the mountains, and it can absorb the heat there, which then accelerates the melting, and that accelerated melting can then lead to floods in the rivers, which can cause a lot of devastation and destruction. So how can we control this? We can control this by controlling the pollution at the source. And this is something that needs to be given importance and focus, because if you're, for example, installing electrostatic precipitators in the industries, if you're using catalytic converters in the cars, then you're controlling the pollution at the source. And in this way, we can then contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals by taking climate action. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.